Good evening and welcome to the February 15th, 2024 meeting of the Mount Juliet Municipal and Regional Planning Commission meeting. Our first meeting of 2024. If you're here for what was part of our January agenda, thank you all. And thank you for your patience with that and through the inclement weather that actually did show up. You always worry whether or not you make the right decision on meetings of importance, such as our Planning Commission meeting here. Thank you for Jennifer, for your communication and reaching out to applicants to see whether or not we needed to push through or how we were going to handle that situation. And looks like we made the right decision, seeing that Thursday night was not very friendly night to be back out on the road. So our first meeting of the 2024 year. And with that, I want to make mention of something really quick right now, because I think it's important right here. For many of you know that the way that our home rule, our city charter is run, we're underneath a home rule, which means that we have our elected officials, but our day-to-day management of the city of Mount Juliet is conducted by our city manager. Our city manager is Mr. Kenny Martin, and I, being a man that's lived here my entirety of my life. I also know him as Officer Kenny Martin, as well as City Manager Kenny Martin, Sergeant Martin, Lieutenant Martin, I believe, at one point as well, prior to his service as our City Manager, in many different roles. And as a kid, he probably caught me doing some things I probably shouldn't have, but always really well. And his leadership and guidance over the years to me individually has been second to none. We're blessed to have a really good community-focused local city manager. And I bring that all up from the standpoint of last week was our Mount Juliet Chamber of Commerce Awards. And Kenny actually was one of our big award winners, and he won the Lifetime Achievement Award for his service back to the city of Mount Juliet through more roles than I can even mention right there, but his continued service as our city manager. And so you couldn't find anybody that has quite earned an award of lifetime achievement much more than our own city manager, Kenny Martin. So hats off and congratulations to Kenny for that award, and thank you for his continued service and leadership as we press Mount Juliet forward. And the Mount Juliet, the new Kenny Martin as an officer versus the Mount Juliet of today as Kenny Martin, the city manager, is quite a different place to be and to live and everything. So thank you to Kenny, and congratulations to our own city manager. With that being said, our first item up on our agenda is to set our agenda. I am not aware of any changes, amendments, or adjustments to our agenda tonight. With that being said, we'll set our agenda as stated and as posted. We'll begin our night with our staff reports. Start with Ms. Hamlin filling in for Mr. John tonight. So have the floor.
Thanks. I actually would like to come back to me and reserve a little bit of time for Mr. Bullock real fast, if that's okay with you.
Sure, that'd be fabulous.
Sure. So on the task on the item of the Friday night Mount Juliet Chamber Award. So I've had the pleasure to serve with Luke on the Chamber Board for 6 years, and I believe you've done 2 terms or 3.
This was my second of 6 years.
So Luke has done a lot. So we want to recognize Luke as well, right? So now we're on the topic of that. Luke, one of the big award winners, won the Paul Bowman Award of Excellence, which is basically given to the individual that serves Mount Juliet in numerous capacities and has basically worked as a business person, an outstanding leader, and an outstanding professional in the city. I mean, just from the time I've known you, we've served on the Mount Juliet City Board together, the Chamber of Commerce. We've served on this commission together, and you've been on chairman for many years. I know you're serving on the JECDB board as well, and countless others. But really wanted to, thank you and recognize you for your achievements here. And this place wouldn't be like it is without you. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. I told them that my father would be very proud of that. My dad said, if you take out, you better put back in. So continue to fill your cup, and you continue. I personally have a philosophy that you continue to fill your cup via service. And I can always offer service and always offer time and always offer opportunity. And being a life guy here, and it's changed a lot since I graduated high school here in 1992. So certainly enjoy it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks. Thank you.
Now, Miss Hamlin.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Gerard.
So is there anybody here that lives in the city limits of Mount Juliet? Raise your hand. Just the two? Have you guys filled out your census? MJcensus.org. We are giving away 2 $1,000 gift cards tomorrow. One to Publix, one to Kroger's. It's so important. Mount Juliet. Please fill out your census. MJcensus.org. Also wanted to thank everybody for your patience during our last snow event, canceling that meeting. It's really pushed us with a heavy agenda, but we've had most of that on consent. So I appreciate you guys trusting us and allowing us to put those on that consent agenda. Our annual training will be September the 18th. September the 18th at our new Clemens Road facility at 115 Clemens Road. So September the 18th at our new city annex at 115 Clemens Road. And that's where you will currently find our Public Works, Fire Administration, and our Building Codes facility. They have moved from their old places of business and they are combined into one. I encourage you all to tour that. It's really nice. Travis did a really good job with that remodel and something that we're all very proud of. So
Awesome.
that's all I have for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey,
Shay?
congratulations, Luke. Very
Thank you.
much deserved.
Thank you. Thank you. Shane, Public Works.
Did on what Jennifer said about the awards and recognitions about Mr. Martin and yourself, Chairman. A couple of projects I want to talk about. We're working on the roundabout. Luke always talks about. I think we're going to get done in the next couple of months. So they're way ahead of schedule. Just got to wait for the weather to warm up, and they'll finish out the top and then all the concrete work. As you noticed, sidewalks are going in on Lebanon Road between North Mount Juliet Road and Park Glen. They're going to be well ahead of schedule on that one as well. I believe they're already moved to the north side of the street. And also, if you've noticed as well, behind the Mount Juliet Church of Christ off North Mount Juliet Road, we're doing a sewer interceptor project to upsize your lines where we're increasing capacity as our city grows. They're about 40 years old. And we noticed a lot of savings in our metro bill that we pump to Nashville just by the replacement of about 50% of the project so far. So that project's almost getting to the halfway point. They hit some rock that slowed them down, but we're looking at another project that's probably going to pay for itself. So a lot of good things happening. And I do want to make another personal plug, and I've used this one 2 or 3 times, so why not again? We're here for our future. And we're developing for a future. And I'm here to hawk another play that my stepdaughter's in at West Wilson Middle School at the end of February, rolling into the 1st of March weekend. That's 2 weekends from now. Once Upon a Mattress. If I can get one person to buy a ticket to see them perform, they're talented. They work hard. I know she's been doing 3-hour nights 5 days a week. So if you got time, February 29th through March the 2nd, I believe. Once Upon a Mattress, West Wilson Middle School. They'll appreciate your support and watch some talented kids go out there and act their hearts out. So with that, I conclude my report.
That's awesome.
Sir,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's awesome. That is pretty cool. Before we get started, I want to say something else too, real quick, and make mention of this. Thought this was pretty neat. What was it? Not last week, but the week before, city staff attended what was the mayor's forum, or first one that I can ever remember. And I say mayor's forum because it was countywide. So hosted by our county mayor, Mayor Lebanon, Mayor Watertown, and of course, our city manager Kenny Martin yielded to our staff from planning and from public works to kind of do an overall. This first meeting, this is one of 3 that they conducted. It's open to anyone and everyone. The discussion was primarily on infrastructure needs and whatnot. I believe that the next one is on planning. The next one is utilities. And then the third one is
Planning.
planning.
Mhm.
So, and this next one is at College Grove Church of Christ out in Lebanon, if I'm not mistaken. And is it in March or April for this next one?
I think it's at the end of April is what they told us.
I encourage folks, if you're interested to see what's going on, long-term planning, you always have to be looking forward to, things are where they are today, but you need to always be looking for 10, 20, 30, 50 years down the road. Because I guarantee you folks that when we founded Mount Juliet in 73, never could have imagined Mount Juliet would be as it is right now. And so from that standpoint, I was excited to see that, excited to be in attendance at that, and thank our staff for their participation and the excellent presentation that they did as well from all of our municipalities in our county as well. So keep a watch out for that, because it's long-term planning, especially collaborated long-term planning, such as we are overall as a county, helps us all. And so everybody, I would encourage everybody to keep an eye out for that. Any of the planning commission members as well. If you get an opportunity on your schedule and it allots you to where you can attend, I would definitely encourage you to attend. It was pretty awesome. So thank you guys for that. That being said, our next item up on our agenda are citizen comments. At this time, we will take citizen comments. Public is welcome and encouraged to make public comment about any item on our agenda. There'll be two opportunities for you to make those comments. You may speak now, or you may speak when the item is presented to the Planning Commission. We do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and anyone wishing to address the Planning Commission at this time is welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll move forward with our next item on the agenda, which is our minutes approval. Item 5A is to review the minutes from the December 21st, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Any changes, amendments, typos, adjustments? Seeing none, looking for a motion in regards to that item on our agenda. It's a motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Or abstentions? That is approved. All right, bear with me. I'm going to do a lot of reading right here. Here we go. Next item up on our agenda is item 6. It is our consent agenda items. First up is item 6A, development letter of credit number S509327 for Northtown Gardens in the amount of $118,827.49 can be released. Item 6B, sewer letter of credit number 337342216 for the Grove at Nottaville in the amount of $34,110 can be released. Item 6C, sewer letter of credit number 7016489 for Nicholsville Phase 2, Section 2B, Mount Juliet Commons Phase 1, Section 2 in the amount of $16,011 can be released. Item 6D, review the final plat for Linwood Station 1A located on Clemens Road. Item 6E, review the final plat for Windtree Pines Phase 2B located at 810 Nottaville Road. Item 6F, review the final plat for the Sutton property located at 3650 North Mount Juliet Road and Old Mount Juliet Road. Item 6G, review the site plan for Nicoletto's Restaurant located at 4035, 4041 North Mount Juliet Road. Item 6H, review the site plan for Whataburger located at 1325 Rutland Drive. Item 6I, review the site plan for A Plus Storage located off Golden Bear Gateway and Old Beckwith Road. Item 6J, review the site plan for East Side Bowl located off Golden Bear Gateway and Old Beckwith Road. Item 6K, review the site plan for Homewood Suites located at 80 Belinda Parkway. Item 6L, review the site plan modification for Monday Memorial located at 105 Monday Memorial Drive. Item 6M, review the final master development plan for Tomlinson Point located at 2844 Curd Road. Item 6N, review the preliminary plat for Tomlinson Point located at 2844 Curd Road. Item 6O, review the preliminary plat for Golden Bear Place located off Golden Bear Gateway and Old Beckwith Road. Item 6P, which is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners, Review the Coker property annexation request, including a plan of services located at 107 Maderas Drive. Item 6Q, which is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. Review the rezone request from RS40 to CRC for 102 Maderas Drive. Item 6R, which is a recommendation item back to the Wilson County Planning Department, is to review the rezone request from Wilson County R1 to Wilson County R3 for the Henninger property located at 1006 Gill Road. Item 6S, which is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners, is to approve the purchase of the daycare on Charlie Daniels Parkway. Item 6T is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners, is to approve the agreement to sell 2365 North Mount Juliet Road. Item 6U, which is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners, approve Toll Brothers purchasing the remaining Tomlinson Park property from the city. That is very, very close, and that was a very, very long one. So
It
with that being
was.
said, Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. Core staff recommends approval with any conditions that we have listed in our staff report. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer any of those.
Very
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you. Shane, Public Works.
Staff also recommends approval with the conditions outlined in our respective staff reports as well.
Very well. Thank you. So let me open it up to the commission. Questions or comments from the commission? I'm going to have several. Does anybody else want to lead? All right, here we go. So I'm going to start with, let's start with 6I. For the A+ storage located off Golden Bear Gateway and Old Beckwith Road. Bear with me because I didn't want to pull anything off of this, but just have a couple of questions on this. I know that one of the comments on this was the addition of a raised crosswalk. I guess this was really more applicable to probably 6J, but they're kind of almost one in the same. I would like to see, and let me know when you got one of these site plans across, because this will be more directed towards 6J. So this is the site plan for East Side Bowl, is the one that I'm discussing at the moment. I just want to see the addition of a additional pedestrian crosswalk. I guess it would be to the northern entrance. You got one crosswalk directed at the very front of the building of the East Side Bowl. And that cuts through the median. I know that we don't necessarily have a sidewalk right there, but my thought is that one, with the addition, I'll be happy to give this plan to staff when we're done so that you guys can see my red line on this. But the possibility of that being the raised walkway right there and additional pedestrian traffic, or we could do that at the other one, but I'd like to see, because there's so much more parking to the north, and obviously there'll be a lot of children in and out of this site due to its use, and would just like to see a little bit more for the pedestrian foot traffic on that site. And that's just conducted with striping, some additional striping for pedestrians. And then I'm in agreement with staff about a raised crosswalk in there at your determined location. Another question that I had for this, I couldn't really tell on the photometric plan for it, but one of the things that I feel like is important as well on this is the lighting on the back, particularly until this building gets developed. And so I know that we've got the LED lights in the parking lot and whatnot, and I know we don't allow wall packs. But how are they lighting up the back of this property, particularly until it's developed or even when it is developed? Because obviously with children and obviously with congregating right there. You bet. Yes, ma'am. Well, they're showing a drive through. If you can see right here, this drive back here. That's not gonna be a drive lane all the way back behind? I would like to see then consideration of the same parking lot lighting added to the back of this to keep it lit up. I think for just overall safety purposes, because you got that common area between the A+ storage and the East Side Bowl, which I'm bringing out the kid in me, that's going to draw me to the back of this because I want to get away from our fine police officers and want to get away from the adults seeing me what I'm doing. So light it up.
So, it does look like there will be some lights back there, but you're right. If you read the photometric plan, it goes to 0 foot candles there in that dumpster area.
So I'd like to see our same lighting for the parking lot, those LED pole lights be implemented to the, Yeah. yeah, I would, and that comment holds for both facilities. It just looks like a place to hide. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. My other question on that one was, I guess is there street lighting out there on the Golden Bear Marketplace Drive as well? Just this is the first of what's to come. So will there be? So we don't know if there's any. Can we have? Yeah, it is in the PUD, street lighting. It was. Because it's going to be so dark over there initially. Go on. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Yes. So if you'll recall or think through Providence or the newly opened Providence Parkway, what we do is the main power line that runs through there with the poles, we add the street lights to the poles to increase that walkability, right? This whole development set up with the walking trails, and we want it lit up. We want it safe. So there will be street lighting.
Perfect. And just, I'm good to work with staff on the lighting to the back side of these buildings
so-
right here, whatever we want to do.
You said it right. No wall pack. So what we've been doing on some of these facilities is we take the same head that you see in the parking lot and put that on the building.
Okay.
So it's still a decorative in nature. It provides the same amount of coverage.
Whatever you guys work out, just can see that as a nice little hiding place. And yeah. And don't want to see that happen. And I guess this right here is just a question back for staff. One of the comments was complete design for intersection. I guess at the roundabout, or what is that the roundabout, or are you just talking about the cul-de-sac? Right there?
Yes.
Okay.
That's more of an aside comment, but that's going back to the master plan.
Okay. Perfect. That is all that I have on that one that I can think of. The other one comment, this is a comment for 6K. The Homewood Suites located at 80 Belinda Parkway. The pool and I guess amenities for the hotel are directly adjacent to the car lot right there. I would like to see either a fence or additional screening at that pool. Something to give them a little bit of privacy that just also screams a recipe for disaster. A little bit right there, particularly privacy. How they're locating their pool, then how it sits adjacent to the adjacent properties, whether that's achieved through fencing or additional landscaping. The landscaping, I think, just called for bushes, I guess, in there. I know that when people buy a pool, you don't necessarily want trees, shading the pool, but there needs to be some kind of screening or something there.
Are you okay with providing additional visual barrier between the pool?
That'd be great. That sounds perfect. Next question is on 6L. It's to review the site plan modification for Monday Memorial located at 105 Monday Memorial Drive. And does that remain one parcel or these become two parcels? I'm just thinking through that one as a future use.
That is going to remain one parcel.
Okay.
Under the same ownership, and while they're building their new building, they're gonna occupy the existing building.
Okay.
And then once that's completed, they will move back over to their new building and lease out the existing building. Remain under the same ownership and it'll be leased to a
But-
different.
You're going to remain one parcel altogether.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm really excited actually to have that company, the Nashville Office Interior. Myself and Kenny got to tour their location downtown, and I think it'll bring a lot of good business to the city. So that's
Yes.
very exciting.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them as well. I agree. Okay. My next one is on 6M. Review final master development plan for Thompson Point located 2844 Curd Road. And I don't know what changed at VOC versus what we see here. So my apologies if some of the questions here that I have are redundant. I remember talking about this at Planning Commission in regards to construction traffic. I think when it came out of planning, it came with a note that said construction traffic is coming off Beckwith and not through Jackson Hills. And that comment, that note maintains they have to build it and bring in their construction traffic that way. Perfect. And my other question was the FMDP that we're seeing right now, I guess because of the lengths of, it's not necessarily cul-de-sacs, I understand, but they spine off as almost unified cul-de-sacs. We're good with everything, turning radiuses, buses, delivery trucks.
Actually, when they brought their PUD in, I believe you guys asked them to run those numbers to make sure that the school bus would, I remember you guys bringing that up.
Yeah.
Okay,
So they ran, I was, one of y'all,
Yeah, I actually talked to Metro about that.
Mhm.
I did show him that plan.
okay.
Because I know you were concerned about the school buses.
We were good with that.
And everything's good with that.
Okay, perfect. My other question on that, and that stems from one of the last staff comments on the history, says reflects, FNDP reflects those changes and includes a phasing amendment. And out of curiosity, what was amended on the phases?
it was actually phase one. They're trying to get their paving schedule to match up with the infrastructure that they have. And I believe they were trying to beat the plants from closing. But because they did not have that FMDP approval or submitted, that actually went away, I'm pretty sure.
Perfect.
Back there. I just want to make sure that they were not able to meet that schedule. I don't think they were able to meet that phasing schedule because the asphalt plants ultimately closed while they were trying to get their plans together.
Sure.
Yeah, so really, you were only seeing the preliminary plat and a rephase, but then we discovered you guys amended the PMDP and you don't have FMDP approval, so that's why you're seeing both.
Okay. Okay. So please name and address for the record.
Mike Wright, Rose Design, 1274 Culper Hill Road. What you said's correct. You need me to add any clarification to anything?
No, as
Okay.
long as that's good right there. A couple things you'll see, a lot of my comments are back for lighting. Did we add lighting at Beckwith Road here? And did we add lighting at their entrance where it ties into Jackson Hill?
I don't think that we ever made that comment until after
In here.
this development. I think we started that at Bender's Ferry.
Okay.
Hey, now's a good time.
Yeah, if we can add some entrance lighting, highly appropriate, because especially Beckwith, that's going to be at nighttime, super dark, but would like it to not
Especially
make
on
it
Beckwith.
obtrusive to the neighbors. So decorative in nature and functional in use. And I know this doesn't have to do with this plan, but I guess going forward, it's a lot of houses and we got one mailbox kiosk. And the one mailbox kiosk, if you come in off of Beckwith, is quite a drive. I'd love to see, as we look at more plans going forward, multiple, because I know that's a U.S. Post Office mandated thing, but multiple locations in developments this large for mailbox kiosks.
I will try my best to get the postmaster to approve that.
Will they not?
They have been requesting one.
Oh, just one single?
So it's easier for their carriers.
And we don't have really, because this has come up on a few of them. I got a couple buddies that are postman delivery. And you'd be surprised how many are building these mailbox facilities with no cover. And so you can imagine that postman is going to probably sit there for hours.
Well, we do require that they.
We do
are covered.
require
Yes, sir.
cover and everything.
And they're very nice. I don't know if you've taken a look at some of those structures, but they look really good. And we
Great.
also make sure that they're well lit and covered.
I've heard them say that there's several that they deliver to. They're standing there for hours, rain, sleet, or snow. And
Yeah.
they do not like those days.
I bet not. Well, hopefully they don't have that problem in the city of Mount Juliet.
My final question that I have on this one is towards the retention and detention ponds. I think there were. I'm going to show you it on this one right here so you can see it a little bit easier. We got one here, one here, one here. How are they going to access it for maintenance? I see no easements.
Those plans have not been submitted for construction yet.
Okay, so they possibly could lose a lot, or we'll make sure that we've got a way to get trucks in and out of these things. Okay, it just, especially this one up here. I mean, they've pinned that one in nicely, and this one as well, which is a major pond for this site. You know, I don't want them thinking that they can get on a pedestrian sidewalk to get their machinery down there to maintain these. And as you guys know, especially, so you mentioned continuing training that we've done, what was it, 3-4 years ago, we really talked about water quality retention and maintenance and what is required ongoing on these. And they just look very hard to access. And I don't see how they're going to access. So just a little side note on that. And that took me through the Tomlinson Point there. Sorry, I told you I have a few. And just one other comment. This is in regards to 6P. The recommendation item is to review the Coker property annexation request, including plan of services located at 107 Maderas Drive. Just as that, I know this is just a rezone, so no need to really kind of harp on it right now. Would love to see that one right there. If at all possible, if TDOT would allow, and it meets TDOT standards whenever we do see, if we ever see a proposal on that property, and should it pass through here and then BOC, that the entrance to that property move out to Lebanon Road and terminate an entrance to Maderas. So just, I have no problem with what we're doing here today on that one, but just as that site does develop out or its uses change, or we get a proposal for the house no longer to be there, would like to see entrance moved to Lebanon Road if at all possible, and it meets TDOT's new change in standards, which I'm not sure that due to the size and shape of the lot, whether or not that's allowed or not, but would love to see it.
Miss Coker is actually here, and I think you just made her head spin because you were actually talking about 102 Maderas.
Oh, was it really?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. 102 Maderas then. Let me change that up. Yeah,
She's
yeah,
probably
take yours.
thinking,
Yeah,
how
yours.
can I get
yeah.
to Lebanon Road?
Yeah, you're a lot deep down there. Come on, just a bridge right over there. Sorry, my apologies on that. So that would be item 6Q then. Would love to see if that future develops out there. Don't have a problem with either of them for that matter. But would love to see that entrance moved off Maderas and moved to Lebanon Road. That's all my questions or comments.
Exciting consent agenda, actually. There's some really
Yes.
big projects on here.
I
Good stuff.
told someone earlier, as you know, I've been here quite some time, and I can remember seeing no consent agenda for many years. And so thank you guys for doing that. That means that we've looked through this and you guys are comfortable with enough to put it there. So
Yes, sir.
confident enough. So
Thanks for trusting us.
yes, ma'am. Further questions, comments from the commission? With that being said, we got a lot of items on consent agenda tonight. So at this time, we're going to open the floor to citizen comments. Anyone wishing to make comment about any of the items all the way up to the letter U are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Wade. I live at 708 Jared Court, which is off of Gwill Road. Mainly this is an education question for me because I don't understand a lot of this, but I appreciate the diligence that I've already seen from the board on previous items. But for item 6R, what does R3 mean in relatable terms to zoning? So in the very, very brief research, it mentions multifamily residential, specifies townhomes. There's some alluding to horizontal housing regime, duplexes. I don't know what that means in standard terms. And then the second part of the question is more of a request for this commission and the board that if there's another type of housing zoning for single family housing or some sort of constraint within your authority to put some sort of constraints on the developer whenever the plan comes, to keep in mind something like similar houses and lot sizes or architecture of the structures to match that of the surrounding environment up to a mile radius. And that's all.
Jennifer, is that you?
I cannot give you the definition for county R3 because that is a county zoning and not a city zoning.
Okay.
But as you well know, there is a manufactured home community currently on that lot. And we all saw a annexation request and a request for plan of services on their plan development for that a few months ago, which we ultimately denied because we cannot get sewer over there. So the reason they're asking for the R3 zoning is because they need the density and the lot sizes that a R3 zoning will give them. And what that means for you is about 20 single family residential lots versus what you have now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Any additional citizen comments at this time? Very well. See no additional citizen comments this time. I'd like to open the floor for a motion in regards to the items. I did not mark my public hearings on here, Kenny.
It's D, E, and F.
D, E, and F? You got it. At this time, I'd like to close our planning commission meeting, and which time I'm opening a public hearing. Public hearing is in regards to items 6D, 6E, and 6F. Item 6D is review the final plat for Linwood Station Phase 1A located on Clemens Road. Item 6E, review the final plat for Windtree Pines Phase 2B located at 810 Nonneville Road. Item 6F is review the final plat for the Sutton property located at 3650 North Mount Juliet Road and Old Mount Juliet Road. Anyone wishing to make comment about any of those three items during our public hearing, welcome to encourage you to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll close our public hearing, reopen our planning commission meeting, and at which time I'm looking for a motion in regards to the items on our consent agenda.
Motion to approve with your comments.
Motion? I'll second that since I got comments on there. So,
Does that include staff comments as well? Thank you.
yes. And conditions.
Positive recommendations from P through U.
Positive recommendations for P through U. I support that. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Or so positively recommended.
Made me snort.
All right. Excuse me. Next item up on our agenda falls underneath the site plans. Item 7A is to review the site plan for Dutch Brothers located at 101 Sunset Drive. Ms. Hammer?
I think I'll wait just a minute for everybody to leave.
You got it. Yes, please. That's a great idea.
I think we just cleared out the entire room.
Everybody wanted to go bowling.
I guess so. I'm ready.
Whataburger.
I've eaten all day. Stop.
Here I was trying to get y'all out of here early and I'm taking a long pause.
Ah, yeah, I see your ways.
So we have a site plan for Dutch Brothers Coffee, and that sounds pretty exciting, huh? Dory invited myself, Kenny, and Marty to the Youth Leadership Wilson meeting yesterday, and that was the first question Kenny got is, when are we going to get a Dutch Brothers Coffee? So I was excited to say it's on our agenda for tomorrow night. So that worked out perfectly. There are just a few things that I don't love about this plan. And y'all know the first one is that detention pond right there on the corner of Sunset and North Mount Juliet Road. And I know if you look at the landscape plan, it's got pretty circles all over it because those plants are going to be there. But I cannot guarantee how long those plants are going to stay there. And it's a constant battle for us at the staff level to make sure that all those planting materials stay alive and healthy after the first year that they have been installed. So I do have a problem with that. Just like over at the oil, Express Oil, the blue Nichiha that they've proposed, we certainly do not support that. They're supposed to design that to be compatible with those in the area, and obviously that is not compatible. I also don't love the configuration of the site. I don't appreciate them showing that drive-through window there on the North Mount Juliet Road side. I'd love to see that building flipped if they could make that happen. And just also ask that in addition to our comments, and I think this is one, but I'd like to see decorative wall lighting proposed instead of the wall packs that they have shown.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shane, anything from Public Works?
Yeah, two comments I want to point out. One, comment number 3, in our initial comments, I had left off the grass strip up for the sidewalk along Sunset Drive. That does need to be installed per city cross sections on our roadways. And I want to add one more comment, number 10. It's more of a general note, just because of the fact that the access of this site is coming off of North Mount Juliet Road, and that access is under TDOT's purview. So I would like to enter this note in that the access to North Mount Juliet Road is under TDOT's purview and review. And that's all I've got.
And explain what that means from our standpoint, Shane.
So when this project, they have to get TDOT's blessing for their driveway cut on North Mount Juliet Road.
Okay.
Engineers would know that, but considering the site was a single-family residential, it was previously approved as a coffee shop before. The exercise has to be done by this applicant to go to TDOT and get their blessing.
Does it meet the modified standards for TDOT's location from a corner? Is it far enough?
I can answer that.
Can you answer?
Or you want to answer it either way? Go ahead, John.
I can't remember off the top of my head what the distance is from an unsignalized location, but it is something that if it doesn't meet it, TDOT has the ability to, Dave, they call it granting a variance to their own policy manual, but that is their policy manual and it is all their control.
Okay.
That's
good information. Sure, please.
Just for clarity, it is a policy manual at this time. They haven't adopted it as a standard just yet, but they can refer to that when they're reviewing the access and deny according to that policy if they choose to. But they are working to get that adopted as an actual standard, but it takes some special legislation to do so.
Very well. Very well. So all the Public Works comments at this time?
Yes, sir.
Very well. Let's open it up to the commission. Any questions or comments from the commission at this time? Please.
I'll just be quite frank. I like that we're getting a Dutch Brothers, but that's about the only thing I like about the project. I don't like that there's access on Mountain Juliet Road right there. I don't like the way that the drive-throughs facing Mountain Juliet Road. I don't like the detention pond. I mean, I like that we're having a Dutch Brothers, but that's about it. So I would really encourage the applicant to go back to the drawing board potentially after we get done with our comments, maybe defer it a month or two just to kind of let you get back to square one and see if we can get something better before us.
Very well. Thank you. Any further questions, comments from the commission?
I'll add one.
Please, Commissioner.
We've been through this discussion before with the tire service and oil service about the blue, and we didn't waiver then, and I certainly doubt that we will waiver again. I just the blue just doesn't fit.
Very well. Thank you. Let's go ahead and open, please, Commissioner.
I just agree with the whole access to North Mount Juliet Road. At the very least, if we could make this right in, right out, I would prefer it not even being there. But because you've got is it Barrel House in Houston's close by, and then you've got Sunset Drive, which is just down from there, which the Andes that we just approved recently, all of theirs is going to be driven down Sunset and access behind, I believe, the medical clinic that's there. So I don't really see, to me, it would make more sense for us to drive all the traffic that way to go off, even if that means an improvement there, where Sunset meets with Mount Juliet Road.
Further questions, comments from the commission? Open up for representation. Name and address for the record, please.
Harper with Goodwin Mills, Kaywood. The address is 3310 West End Avenue, Suite 420, Nashville, Tennessee, 37203. Appreciate everybody's time here. I know I hear John's, I guess he's under the weather, is not able to be here. So I've tried to reach out to John specifically in relation to comment number 2 about the drive-through layout. That was a new comment that we got here in the staff report. I know we've been through a couple of reviews going back to, I think, September, October, and a pre-application meeting even before then on this project. So just kind of talking about access. This is not the first site plan that we've looked at, and especially with the discussion about no access or right in, right out access to North Mount Juliet Road. This orientation, or if you take this site or a drive-through site like this and rotate it the other direction, you start having to make multiple circles around the site from an access on Sunset, just due to distances. That access needs to be from the intersection on Sunset. So that's kind of how we got to this point here from a site layout standpoint, just trying to get the drive-through and the building to function correctly. Like I said, this is not the first one. We've been through about probably several months with Dutch Brothers on alternate layouts to try to make the site functional from a business standpoint, from an access standpoint. Kind of getting back to the comment about the TDOT, the new TDOT policy. So I know they have it in hand. It's not been, it's not approved and not out for public use yet. So they have not shared that with us. So I don't know exactly what those numbers are in discussions we've had with TDOT. They haven't shared that new policy guide with us. So it's kind of hard to design to that till we get to the point where they provide that to us. So as far as the current policy, it does meet that corner clearance and actual driveway location that we're using is an existing, there's an existing driveway location there from when it was a single family home. A couple of things that just make this site a little bit unique related to a lot of other sites here. The Dutch Brothers building here is drive-through only. There's no interior. You can't go in, buy coffee, sodas, anything like that. It's drive-through only. It's only 950 square feet, so it's a fairly small use. And this particular lot has just under 30 feet of fall from corner to corner. So there's a significant grade issue across the site. It's just under an acre, right at an acre. It's about 30, like I said, 30 feet of fall. The pond up front is actually bioretention. So that's why there's plants inside the pond as well as around the pond. And we can, there's the ability to add some additional landscaping on berms and behind. There's also public sewer and public water and easements along the frontage of Mount Juliet Road. And some of those things kind of push a lot of that stuff back into the site and kind of make that site, a little bit from a design and being able to do things on the site kind of constrains it even further than what you get on a lot of sites. So site has a lot of issues, and I think that's why you've had, several things come through and they haven't actually made it through to construction. So this is kind of that type use that kind of fits that niche in the size site. Going back and about the blue, I've talked to Dutch Brothers Architect, and you know, if we can kind of work through the site issue or the orientation issue, you know, the other comments related to colors and things like that, they can address that as you've requested. So I think there were a couple other comments about the brick. So the brick, it's all individual standard brick veneer, so it's not panelized or anything like that. So the only non-brick materials actually on this is the tower itself, and it's a Nichihah product, which is a fiber cement. It's kind of like a hardy cement panel. So that was kind of the trying to get some, you know, contrast and material change to make it a little bit more interesting building. So, you know, we can work through those things. I think the biggest thing is, again, comment number 2 there from the planning about the orientation and how that we can work through that. So all the other comments, you know, bothered colors, trash receptacles, brick color to match the building, same as the major brick color there on the building. I think there's one comment that relates back to the easement, and that is planning comment number 11, and it ties in with public work comment number 6 is about the access easement. So like where that driveway is located and the way it turns the property to the south, that is an existing recorded easement. So what we've done is the connection where it's at now follows where the access easement is today as it's recorded, and then it terminates. I think it's Houston's, the immediate next door neighbor, terminates into their at their property line. And I will say that, you know, if the connection ever gets made, some of either that side will be redeveloped, or they would have to take out a significant chunk of parking there along the front to actually make that connection work. They actually park perpendicular to our south property lines. You know, there's other, if y'all have got any other questions or anything like that, I'd be glad to ask them. Sure would like your support.
You mentioned something about the detention pond and
Yes,
doing some, what were you suggesting with that?
So it's a bioretention cell. So there is plantings around it and plantings inside it. So the plants that are inside, there's shrubs and trees inside that are water loving type trees. So and shrubs, and we can increase density. We can also put you know, there's the kind of the berm around the outside of it. You know, we can add additional trees and shrubs along the berm. Right now we've got double row shrubs and trees along that berm, as well as street trees down adjacent to the sidewalk. You know, we can, you know, just fill that in and make it a little bit tighter to help screen that.
I'm going to back up to what you said about that easement right there. I guess regardless, just because I don't see that easement noted on your site plan right here. And so just provide staff a copy if that easement is existing, because it's not noted on your plan that's presented before us right here.
Okay.
Is it on
Absolutely.
this right here?
If you look at C002, it is shown there. It's book 2261,
Okay.
page
I saw
930.
it. There we go. Very well. What about, go back to Commissioner Christensen's comment, should that Lebanon, or the Mount Juliet Road, remain right there, changing that to a right in, right out?
I think we're amenable to that.
Commissioner Hefner, please.
We did this before with TDOT, didn't we, with Whataburger?
Yep.
And So my question is this: if we do not allow the access off of Mount Juliet Road, but TDOT allows it, does that supersede our denial?
TDOT has been working with city staff on what the city wants. So if the city, I can't guarantee you that if the city wanted one thing and TDOT wanted the exact opposite, what would happen, but they have been a good partner to the city on recent projects.
Okay.
And taking the city's preference under consideration and putting that in with their recommendations.
So if we deny that, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it sounds like it from what I'm hearing. I don't agree with the access off of Mount Juliet Road at all. And I see the cross access. I don't know how feasible that will be going into Barrel House, because that would take out half their parking, and they don't have parking as it is. So I don't see that as that cross access being.
The practicality of that's not ever redevelop. That's when it would come into play, not as its current state.
Okay.
No.
They're right, a whole.
Okay. So
Development.
It's a
that's
wide
for,
scale redevelopment. Who knows
if it's
what
going to
could happen.
redevelop, then that's the easements there. Also, too, have we not had underground detention ponds?
Yes, we do.
Is there a reason why we didn't recommend that or suggest that on this particular site plan?
There's nothing in the code currently that can force me to make them do that.
Could we require it?
You can ask for that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I think that would solve some of the challenges we're having with the detention pond, is having underground detention.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
I think the intent of this is to meet Mount Juliet's requirement for LID, which is why this is a bioretention cell, again, not a detention pond, and it's to meet Mount Juliet's LID requirements.
It does meet code.
So
Okay. And then the last question, Shane, any reason why we didn't recommend has a traffic study been done? Do we need a stoplight on Sunset and Mount Juliet Road?
There has been a traffic study done. That intersection currently does not meet any of the warrants for signalization.
Even with a drive-through coffee, wouldn't drive
They-
more? Doesn't?
A
Wouldn't.
drive-through coffee only does not generate
Okay.
that much.
Okay.
But we also have Andy's coming in that we use that access off Sunset too.
And those studies have included each other in them. We've been
Okay.
making sure everybody has the upcoming projects as we know them. And it currently does not meet the warrants and what's not projected to either.
The Dutch Brothers traffic generation is actually fairly small on the peak hours, less than one car a
Okay.
minute on a peak hour, which is pretty small.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I don't know if it's another Starbucks or I don't know. I'm not familiar with them, but it sounds like it's pretty popular from some of the comments up here. So that's why I asked the question.
It's great. It is great.
So the outside of the blue, does we pretty much meet the ordinance and what we're supposed to do is outside the blue with the color. And I know we're going to talk about addressing the pond, either doing underground or beautifying it in some kind of way. But other than that, is the blue is what he's got to fix. I mean, that's ordinance wise.
To use that Nichiha and
The
the
Nichiha.
color also.
So Nietzsche out in the blue. Thanks.
Well, you just deny the whole variance.
Well,
Yeah, but forces it back to brick or stone.
Would you like to defer this a month and work on some of these items
I
that
mean,
were
I think we're
struggling?
agreeable to all of the other items. I think the big issue for us is the comment number 2 with the orientation. If the planning commission is amenable to maintaining the orientation, all the others, we're easily agreeable to all the other comments.
If we agree to the orientation, you would be willing to deny the access to North Mount Juliet Road.
That I would have to go through, confirm with Dutch Bros. In that case, I'd request a deferral.
I can live with the orientation. If we can get an underground detention pond and we can stop access on Mountain Juliet Road, I can live with it. But I'm not comfortable voting for it on a promise or a whim that you might go back to Dutch Brothers and they might agree that they won't have access to Mountain Juliet Road. The only way that I see myself, at least I can't speak for the rest of the commission, but there's got to be no access on Mountain Juliet Road. That was just me.
Let me add one thing to that.
Please.
I'm an engineer myself. I do a lot of transportation work,
Yes, sir.
roadway design. And this is more for the commission than for you. But typically, in my experience, although the use has changed, the existing driveway is on Mount Juliet Road. And TDOT is usually fairly hesitant to deny any request to an access where the driveway is already there because that establishes the street address for the property. That's just the challenge there.
So we just make it a right in, right out.
Right in, right out would be acceptable. As
As this is a new use, then we could easily assign a new address. They will most certainly want an address on Mount Juliet Road just for advertising purposes, but yeah, the address is easily changed. They just might not like having a Sunset Drive address. We have a very good relationship with our E911 office, so I don't think that part would be a problem, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Please, Commissioner.
I'm good. I'm good.
Further questions or comments? Let's go ahead and call for citizen comments regards this item on the agenda. Any citizens wish to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments, I'll ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda.
I mean, just motion with staff comments and whatever you want to see change.
I'll make a motion to approve without basically no blue and no Nichiha, right? Or is that what we're saying? You're going to be able to address that?
Yes, sir.
Other than that, I mean, if it fits if he's meeting the conditions, then it's up to elected officials to make sure that to make comments on it at this point. So I would make a motion without.
This doesn't go to the board.
No, so I'll make a motion to approve minus the blue and the Nichiha, if we can address that.
And that's leaving the access on North Mount Juliet Road as they have stated.
I mean,
Right
right in, right out, right? And that's, yeah, I will, and then we can see what happens at this point. So, yeah.
So you can make your motion to approve the site, but deny the variance.
Yes.
The additional comments of the entrance to Mount Juliet Road becoming a right in, right out. And
Because TDOT, because we did say that TDOT works with us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then at that point, we're working with another government entity in the city to work together on whether or not we're going to do the right thing or not.
did you want the retention to become underground or leave the retention as is?
Let's do the retention underground as well. Because would that satisfy, from a staff perspective, I know we don't like to see that pond. Would that satisfy that if we were to do it underground?
Let me ask you something here.
The one question I think I heard earlier about, I believe we can request them to do underground retention. Can we make it a condition to approval?
Yeah, I'll make it
Okay.
a condition.
And also say it would be conditional upon TDOT and city approval of the connection, or TDOT approval of the connection.
Do you want to second his motion and add that as a comment?
Yes. Yes.
And would you support that additional comment with his recommendation for the second?
Yeah, it's the government. You guys are the government. We're the government. Government needs to work together.
So I've got a motion and a second. I'm going to try to repeat the motion to make sure that it is correct. The motion is to approve the site plan, the denial of the variance or waiver as it is stated, the entrance to Lebanon Road become a right-in, or Mount Juliet Road, sorry. I don't know why I keep saying that. To Mount Juliet Road to be a right-in, right-out. The retention or bioretention pond to become underground. And state yours one more time, the additional.
TDOT approval. Subject to TDOT
Subject
approval.
to TDOT approval.
Mhm.
Is that a correct motion?
Correct.
And correct second?
Correct second.
That
We
gives
said,
you,
we said with denying the variance on the blue.
Yeah.
correct,
Okay.
denied the variance. Please.
May, the city has recently had concerns with some of the existing right-in, right-out islands across the city, how they are currently operated by drivers. So there has recently been a concern. TDOT has also agreed with this concern that there may be a need to add in some sort of, in a case like this, some sort of median or curb or something to reduce the likelihood of left turns going into.
Okay, well, if TDOT has the issue with it, right, they're aware of it.
TDOT and the city have an issue with it, yes, sir.
Okay, so subject to whatever approval of TDOT and the city and whatever conditions they've set forth there.
Just want to bring it up to you that it may become more of a construction plan item. It's not just as simple as throw in a triangular right-in, right-out island. There may be other things that need to be done physically.
Is the applicant okay with that? Because that's really, if it's up to, if it's on their condition of conditional approval from them and us, then you would have to be willing to adhere to whatever they tell you to do.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're okay with that.
Beats not having an access at all.
Yeah.
We could,
Yeah.
we could just simply say that the design of that right-in, right-out and the approval is subject to TDOT approval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you good with that, you all?
That's fine.
It takes us out of it.
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure that we said that at least once.
Perfect.
Still good with that?
I'm great with that.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
All right.
Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next item up on our, turn some microphones off real quick. There we go. Next item up on our agenda falls underneath preliminary master development plan. This is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is to review the preliminary master development plan unit development, including a rezone from CRC and CG to CG PUD for Green Hill Road Commercial, located at Lebanon Road and North Green Hill Road. Ms. Hamel.
This is the first CG PUD we've seen in a long time. That's, as you all know, not a base zoning that we typically make a positive recommendation for, and that is the same tonight. So the uses listed on the plans are office, retail, restaurant. For lot 1, lot 2 is office, retail, daycare, auto wash. Lot 3, they have a convenience station and they're requesting 8 pumps and 16 handles. I believe we were asking that they stick with the 4 pumps, which would be permissible under our CRC base zoning. I'm hearing it's a Wawa for that. Lot 4 is a fast food drive-through, and there's been rumors of a Chick-fil-A there. And lot 5 is a bank. They have on the second page a few of our staff report, a few variants that they've asked for, and one is those pumps that I just discussed. They are asking for 945 square feet in excess of the square footage max, which is 5,000 under our convenience and retail sales ordinance. And they are also asking for a variance to our commercial design standards. In speaking with the applicant, we've seen this for several months. They have tried to address some of our concerns about having those gas pumps in the front, because if we are going to have that many gas pumps on this site, I'd love to see those behind the buildings. You all know that's something I consistently ask for. Not that I get every time, but I do ask for it every time. So in relation to that, they have added a nice split rail fence along the corner of North Green Hill Road and Lebanon Road with some enhanced landscaping there. And whenever the adjacent corner develops, we will also ask for that there. So that'll at least give some consistency and a united development facade for that for both of those corners there. They have addressed a lot of the comments that we've proposed to them over the last few months, like prohibiting advertisements on the canopy columns and being in compliance with all of our regulations, except for those few variances that they're asking for. We do have some regulations for bypasses that I'm not seeing on this site plan. I would like to talk to them about providing a lighted crosswalk with a pedestrian sign that blinks possibly. I believe Mr. Winchester requested that for the McFarland property. I think we're going to have a lot of students walking across the street, and I want to make sure getting them across the 5-lane highway is going to be safe for them. And they're only showing one dumpster. So I'd like for the applicant to talk to us a little bit about where those will be located. Of course, we'll see if this moves on and passes ultimately at the BOC. We'll see this come back as a site plan and a final master development plan. Some of those can be addressed at that time, but I would like to put that on the forefront of their thought because I don't want it to be a problem later on down the road. Let's see what else I have. If you guys choose to move this forward to the BOC, we have a few comments listed, and I would appreciate you including those in your recommendation to them. Thank you.
Shane, Public Works.
I want to focus more so on the letter items comment number 3 on our transportation roadway comments. I like the Dutch Bros site plan before and the one now. Access points on Lebanon Road are under the control of TDOT, and TDOT's review and approval of these access points on Lebanon Road shall occur before the project goes to the Board of Commissioners. And I'd like to add that we resolve these issues before the second reading of the Board of Commissioners. And comment B, the traffic study shall be submitted, reviewed, and all staff comments addressed prior to the Board of Commissioners. That also is before the second reading as well. Yes. And we've also talked, we've encompassed this, but ultimately we'll go back to TDOT, that there is some sort of curbs or medians provided at this site to prohibit left turns coming out onto Lebanon Road from the Lebanon Road access points proposed. We've also included that the Lebanon Road access points have deceleration lane analysis as part of the traffic study and shall be submitted with the traffic study. And a few more comments I'd like to add. We would like a crosswalk striping added from the northwest to the southwest leg of the Lebanon Road, North Green Hill Road intersection. Add a receiving ramp at the southwest corner of that intersection and install related pedestrian push button equipment. That'll, like she was talking about, that will improve pedestrian circulation safely in that area, especially with the high school. In addition, we've mentioned the deceleration analysis on Lebanon Road. I'd also like to add that we provide turn lane analysis left or right at each of the other proposed access points on Old Green Hill Road and North Green Hill Road, in addition to Lebanon Road. And with that, those conclude my comments. And also, I want to add comment G talks about overall pedestrian safety within the site from the high school back to the development. We've noticed that, and once we get further along, we can work with the applicant on optimizing circulation and safety, especially with students that will frequent the development. So we have addressed that as well, and we'll look at that at the construction plan level. Also for additional sidewalk and crossing locations. So that would be our comments for recommendation of approval onto the BOC.
Questions or comments from the commission? One real quick for Jennifer. You said you made the comment if we choose to move it forward to the Board of Commissioners, it goes forward to the Board of Commissioners, positive or negative, right?
If they bring it back. If it's a negative, then they will have to submit. We wouldn't normally just add that to the agenda on a negative.
So
The applicant will ask.
they'd have to request to
Mhm.
still move forward to the BOC.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well. All right, I got lots of comments.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. You start.
Okay, so one of them, this is probably my second highest travel route that I personally travel on, is the movement of Lebanon Road. Now I get to say Lebanon Road and say it correctly this time instead of, watch me call it Mount Juliet Road here in a minute. From Lebanon Road and North Green Hill Road, I'm on it daily. And almost 7 days a week daily, kind of a deal. So I am in and out of this school zone, no school zone, everything else. So late at night, anytime. So pretty familiar with movements, traffics, and everything else. Not to mention that I spent probably 7 years of my life staring at these woods out a window across the street there. Prior to I was 13 years ago. So a lot has changed since then. But a couple of notes as I had through here, and particularly concerning to me, and I know this is something that we have on here as a staff comment from Public Works. I personally would not like to see any access to old North Green Hill Road. It is a daily basis, particularly in the evening, that I have somebody right behind me traveling south to Lebanon Road, and they cut through there. And unfortunately, they might not be local because I win every single time. And I do not speed. I maintain the 35 miles per hour just to be a smart aleck. And I win their race that they're in with me every time. And so I make it a point daily when this happens, almost daily, to slow down as I approach old North Green Hill to prove a point that it was not faster. So they have not challenged my truck yet at that intersection, nor should they, because I drive a work truck and not really concerned if they want to challenge it. But I don't want to see us, particularly something like this that has a high possibility of generating a lot of traffic. I just don't want to see us put that on Old North Green Hill Road. When the high school was originally proposed to us, I was a fan of closing North Green Hill Road, making that a cul-de-sac and a terminus point, funneling all the traffic to the stoplight and keeping it there. That didn't happen. And so we still have old, and there's particularly piggybacks my same comment to Madaris. I get that race often because I live off of South Green Hill Road. And my intention on that request to get access to Lebanon Road and off of Maderas because of the same rationale. But with that being said, I would like to see that closed, particularly if that is closed. It looks like a very advantageous place for your additional dumpster pad. And I agree with staff that one dumpster on this site with these proposed uses just ain't going to cut it, particularly if one of the proposed uses happens on that restaurant pad. So it looks like a place that is also tucked in between lots 1 and 2. Should that, and I've sketched all of this on a plan, so I'll be happy to give my plan to staff at the completion of the meeting. You can provide additional parking in that area as well as a potential location to screen and add additional dumpster over in that corner. 100%. I would like to see most of my drawing right here as I look at my plot plan has to do with striping, stop bars, things such as that. So I have a considerable amount, like the potential convenience store over there has no directional signage painted down. I'd like to see that on the ground. I'd like to see several additional painted crosswalks added throughout this site. And I agree with staff that we should have a push button crosswalk light and lighting, particularly for the traffic that is going southbound right there, to let people know that of the pedestrian traffic. Fortunately enough, most of the students will be coming through that while it is a school zone, but that school zone is rated at 25 miles per hour, even on Green Hill. So it is a quicker school zone than most, being at a 15. So for that reason right there, would like to see an additional crosswalk to the south side of the potential intersection of Green Hill High School and this site, as well as push button crosswalks right there. And this is not a really, I don't think that we have completed street lighting through there. Most of the light is ambient from Green Hill High School, entrance lighting at the North Green Hill Road section right there. One of the things that did stand out to me is particularly Site 1. That right there screams as the main access. I see it as a main access lane through this site, and would like to see it as a main access lane through this site. Once again, the intentions being to try to push your traffic as much as you can to a signalized intersection on Lebanon Road. Hence then it concerns me of the backing out onto an access road as proposed for lot 1, including, I've got a comment here for additional striping right there for additional crosswalk added in there, maybe a raised crosswalk at that point to potentially slow that traffic some before they get into that parking. Potential to angle that parking. I don't know if that's been evaluated or looked at right there to keep that as more of a one-way, or you can't really do a one-way traffic, but people that want to attend those buildings to get them out only one way. One question that I did have was if you come in the off of Lebanon Road, at the closest Lebanon Road cut to North Green Hill, you have a median right there that kicks over to the convenience store and then it straightens itself back out. Is there a reason why that's just not straight and wider and more of a drive lane through there? Do you guys happen to know that? Do we need to get an applicant for that one?
I have it circled on my plans too. It's
Yeah.
screaming Starbucks.
Yeah, I know. I'd like to see that median, that whole drive lane, travel north to south right there. Let's make it what it needs to be. And that, I figure, the way I see it, I think that'll be your most commonly used entrance in there. Excited, I guess, that we're going to have another bank over here. But that westernmost entrance, I don't foresee being very often used. But I would see the eastern entrance on Lebanon Road being used a lot, especially for a convenience store. And those are really, I guess, the bulk of my comments. I've got a few additional back here. and I know, Jennifer, I'm sorry that you want them pushed to the road, but I think the site on a corner pushed to the road on this, there's a couple that I've seen where they've done that and they just look, I think they look more odd and out of place than having the pumps up front.
I'm just trying to be consistent. with the
Yeah, I
comments.
agree. I agree. Another one out here that I didn't necessarily agree with, of course, item 3J, I've already stated that, provide driveway access to Old North Green Hill Road. I'd like that removed, which then removes the right out movement onto, remove the right out movement onto North Green Hill Road. I mean, I want you to go right out of that site. So I don't understand that one very much because that takes you to the stoplight.
The issue with that is, and the applicant had removed it, was going across 2 to 3 lanes to make a left turn with high school drivers in the vicinity.
That'd be a left out though, wouldn't it?
Correct. But
Okay.
you're having to cross over 3 lanes to get 2 to 3 lanes to get over there.
So that's just a typo then. You meant to
Yes, at
say
the time I
K to
submitted
be
it,
a
was taken
left
off.
out.
Correct.
We didn't get these plans until the day that packets went out,
Okay. But that item
a couple days
3J
before.
comment should have been to remove the left out movement onto North Green Hill Road. So northern bound.
Comment K. Previously they had showed a right out only driveway, arguably between the convenience center and the fuel pumps onto North Green Hill. That's where that comment comes from.
Okay. Okay.
We
So,
worked that out with them
and this,
on these.
This is the final result of that.
okay.
This is the
Okay.
final
Okay.
result
Great.
of
Great.
that.
Great. Yeah. I was going to say, that looks like something that you guys would support on a normal basis there. Okay. Perfect.
These are
Perfect.
fairly new plans to us.
Perfect. Not that I necessarily disagree with this one, but 3C, the median or the median curb out on Lebanon Road. I see the rationale for it, but that would severely change morning school traffic drastically right there, especially if these cuts are allowed on Lebanon Road. That's going to cue traffic into the 2 lanes and out of the turning lane, and put them out in traffic if we have that right there to deal with at that point. So I don't agree with any kind of a median curb, green space, anything added to the turning lane out there, because that turning lane also is servicing the Mexican restaurant, the Active Life Chiropractic, and other businesses over there, and the queuing for eastbound traffic wanting to get into Green Hill is very commonly at the westernmost access point shown on this site on the Lebanon Road. So I definitely don't agree with adding anything out there in that.
If I may.
Please.
Several of these comments were things we verbally discussed with the applicant to help keep them on this meeting.
Okay.
They were also done in the absence of a completed traffic study.
Oh,
The previously submitted traffic study that was sent back for revisions is what prompted, and I understand your concerns about the access onto Old North Green Hill, but that was proposed as a relief valve to help with the traffic impacts from this site, because what was previously proposed, their access points did not have acceptable levels of service. So
Okay.
from a traffic standpoint, given what was reported of their trip generation in the previous study, you need another access point into and out of this site.
will this revised that we're looking at tonight require a new traffic study to be submitted to you guys to show?
They are working on the traffic
Okay.
study. We have not seen it yet. That's, I believe, one of the conditions in here, 3B, that they
And-
need to get us a revised traffic study.
And that's hence the reason why you guys would like all this resolved before second reading at BOC. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
So we've also had several conversations about site circulation and access and needing some sort of truck circulation paths to show how the fuel trucks would access the site. Again, the comment on medians or curbs on Lebanon Road. We understand that,
Okay.
but it's also in response to
What you previously saw.
what has been previously said, and also trying to be consistent with some of the city's published documents on access management plans on different corridors. But again, it's subject to what the traffic study will show as far as queues, delays, things like that.
Okay. That's fair. That's all I have. And just for the record that I'll, I guess regardless, positive or negative, I'll provide, there's just too much. It's really mainly striping, lots of additional crosswalks because I feel like there's going to be a lot of foot traffic on this site. And I feel like that's part of my main concern is safely getting cars in and out is highest, but I mean, we're knocking on the door between that pedestrian traffic as well as the automobile traffic. Please, Shane.
I was going to say, as we proceed to an FMDP, we can indicate those on the plans, and we could go with Joe, and I'm assuming we can make that work, but that's minor, relatively speaking.
Yes, sir. Questions or comments from the commission?
Oh, yeah. Mine's a quick one.
Please, Commissioner
For a
Hefner.
lot of mine. I'm not seeing where the pumps, where they're where they're going to be filling the pumps. I'm sure my eyes are getting bad, even though I fixed one of them. I still can't see some of the
The tanks.
Yeah.
The tanks are
I just
here.
want to be able to see how
With that blue.
Tanks are
Right here's the
south,
tank.
that's the film.
Yeah, this is the awning with the pumps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. And we feel pretty good that the tanker trucks are going to maneuver those turns.
They don't have it.
We're
Let's
going to
go
have
ahead. Representation.
we'll have
name
them
and
show the
address for the record.
circulations with that.
Again, they haven't gotten their
Okay.
traffic study or any of that type of information yet.
Evening, Joe Haddix, 2305 Clyde Avenue. Yes, those trucks can make that access through the site. We've got a truck turn template exhibit that we'll provide to staff between now and first reading in BOC.
And that would also account if there's a car sitting in that access point to the proposed convenience store and there was a car sitting there waiting to turn, that the
Left.
truck could still get in,
Yeah.
even if there was a car queued right there.
Car queued to make the left on the Green Hill going northbound.
Interesting. Commissioner Hefner,
That's it.
good. Please.
Yeah, only thing I had is we talked about it earlier. Just the eight. I know Wawa real well, right? I mean, shop there for years. But the 8 pumps versus the 4 pumps. I just wouldn't that cause more problems not having 8 pumps versus 4 pumps and having a collection of cars trying to get fuel?
Zoning allows for 4 pumps, and that's why I made that recommendation.
Based off of okay, I got you. I'm good.
Commissioner Rice?
Cleanup. First comment, it's maybe it's an echo of some prior comments, but I don't like either one of those entrances on Lebanon Road just because of the school traffic in the mornings for sure. But I would ask the applicant to consider eliminating the westernmost entrance just because the proximity of Old Green Hill Road versus North Green Hill Road, and then 2 entrances right between that seems like a bunch. The bank may have issue with that, but the distance from the easternmost entrance to the bank is about the same distance to the convenience store. And I get you may have to argue for an outlet for the circulation traffic, but one entrance is all I'd be willing to consider. The other thing is in parcel 1, I get that if it's office, retail, restaurant, that could possibly work. And echoing Luke's comments about traffic, if that's a restaurant, are they expected to use the parking spaces across the street? And does that work from a safety perspective? That's something we can debate. But for parcel 2, I'm reading auto wash, oil change, daycare. I mean, that's some pretty broad use for that parcel. And and I guess I'll compliment you on fitting the proverbial 10 pounds in the 5-pound sack. I'm not a fan of either one of those. This does remind me of a development, I believe, in Franklin around Green Hill area. Very similar. Uncle Julio's is and that type of stuff. It seems like a lot's being crammed into that spot. And can we control the type of development or the type of business in either one of these parcels?
The beauty of a PUD is you can remove uses. Can't add a use, but you can remove a use.
And that's, sorry to interrupt, but that's on us. We should have removed the car wash use.
And the oil change?
Yeah, both of them.
Okay.
I believe if that wasn't asked here, it would be asked at the next meeting. So
Yeah.
they just beat them to the punch.
Commissioner Rash?
Just letting you know how I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Person? Please.
Kind of echoing what the chairman said. I think my one concern is that entrance and exit off of Old North Green Hill Road. I mean, it's just, even in the mornings and afternoons, you get so many people that cut through. Basically, they get to the bottom of that hill, basically where you're going to turn in where Panchuros is. And if that turn light is backed up on Lebanon Road, they're shooting right across into Old Green Hill Road. And, you know, I hate that back in December this got pushed because there was a lot of homeowners and people in the community that wanted to hear about this. And because y'all waited till the last minute to pull it, they all showed up and now they're not here. So I really wish that we could hear some of their concerns. I really wish we could just do away with that because I think that, you know, having all those houses adjoined to this property, you know, I know that you've taken the time to put barriers and stuff to try to get the light and noise out, and I appreciate that. But really, if we could just limit the traffic on the road for the people that live off that are already dealing on a daily basis with school traffic, I think it would just help with alleviate some undue burden on them. So that's really my only concern.
Further questions, comments from the commission? I think that gets them all. Let me ask Joe, this question's back for you. So I brought this up for staff. This would be the that median green space, whatnot, between lots 3 and 4 right there, where you jog over to 3 and then you come back in. Can that?
Yeah, they can be straightened.
It's just grass, right?
Our initial intent there was, you know, if you look at our plan, everything's either going to be permeable pavers or underground detention for
Okay.
our water quality. We had a little gap there that we could have done some bioretention, and you know, looking at it from a 30,000 foot view, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we can straighten that out for sure. And then to address some, if I could address some of the previous comments, you know, if you'll remember back to when the high school was done, these two parcels are under separate ownership, and there was a lack of right of way or unwillingness to grant right of way dedication at the intersection with 70. So that's why that fourth leg of the intersection doesn't have the crosswalk or the pedestrian push button. That has been anticipated with this project. We're also going to fix that kind of weird curb line that's there as you're coming off Green Hill to the westbound traffic. Most of you probably remember at the existing crosswalk by the site to the high school, there's already the pedestrian push button flashers there. You know, striping and crosswalks internal, we do the best we can at this level.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that's just construction plan review. So please, you know, take our apologies or whatnot that it's not a final design, but, and then, you know, going back to discussions with staff, as always, you know, appreciate both Public Works and Planning for working with us on this one. There's been a lot of back and forth. You know, Ms. Hamlin mentioned the CRC versus the CG. And we just mentioned 2 uses that we would eliminate: the auto washer, the oil change. There's 3 more that we can eliminate. and that would line up all the uses that we are proposing with the CRC zone. Those being community assembly, automotive and marine craft sales, service and repair, and then outdoor material and equipment sales and repair. Those are probably just an oversight on our part anyway. But if we remove those three from our permitted use list, now the uses proposed align directly with the CRC zoning.
So then why would we not just have the CRC zoning and then just ask for the additional pumps?
I think we could do that. I think probably our intent, because we've already struck a bunch of uses
Which is what
anyway.
we've talked about that several
That's right.
times.
I think we just picked the CG because the CG allows the
Just not at this intersection.
Right.
I
Yeah.
would feel more comfortable moving forward with CRCs because I don't want to set that precedence. We've not issued that CG zoning since CRC was granted.
And I think we'd be okay with that, just with the uses.
Mhm.
There's one other item. The CRC limits the impermeable surface ratio to 70% per lot, where the CG caps it at 80%.
So you could ask for a variance to that and
We currently would only need it for lot 4.
And then I was going to ask the commission to require pavers instead of pavement for the permeable. We don't want Slim Chickens pavement, right? We don't want that. We would prefer the pavers.
Okay.
So I could
If used.
support, correct. I could support the additional ISR, of course, if our commission can with that condition.
I think we can get behind it.
CRC versus CG. And the CG, we talked about it's because the intersection wasn't deemed
A major intersection.
intersection.
Originally, we've talked this one to death, Joe and I. But I had originally asked that they bring it in as CRC and just ask for the additional pumps, but they were pushing to change the zoning ordinance to add the intersection in, that way, which we're still not doing that. We're just they're seeking a variance just in a different way now.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Either way, it's a variance.
But outside of that, when do we evaluate the major intersection? I mean, how often do we?
Well, we have not obviously done that in a while, but this is our first new major intersection.
Right. So maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
This would be a major intersection, I would think.
I'm sure that you all have read the definition thanks to Mr. Porter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have read it.
So you would be agreeable to amend your request to a CRC PUD while requesting a variance to the number of pumps and then requesting a variance to use permeable pavers?
He's going to be asking for a variance to allow 80% ISR from 70 in the CG or CRC
On lot.
for lot 4.
Say that one more time.
He's going to be asking for a variance to the ISR requirements from 70% to 80 for lot 4 and has agreed to the permeable pavers in lieu of the pavement, much like you see at Slim Chickens. which
Permeable
just-
pavement. Can we add permeable pavement so it doesn't say I got to use pavers instead of pavement?
No, we want you to use the pavers, not the pavement. Have y'all,
No.
please tell me that you all know what
Yes.
I'm talking about at
Yes.
Slim Chickens. It's
No.
terrible.
I'm just saying, if used.
If used,
used.
right, if it's needed. We're
Yeah.
not requiring them to use
Yeah,
it. It's
if
just if they
Yeah, I
need to
just
use
wanted
it.
that.
So if
So when
needed.
we're not here 2 years from now.
Yeah,
Would-
if needed. Yeah.
Would, I guess this would be a new one for me, Mr. Marchetti. Would he have to amend his request to us? Because his request before us right now
Mhm.
is for the CG. Would he have to amend that request, or can we just say, hey, we're going to give it a positive recommendation, but? Okay.
We're going to positively recommend CRC and
Okay.
we'll wordsmith it out for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got you.
Just need a clarification on that. Commissioner Rath, another?
What are your thoughts on that western access?
So just with all the kind of back and forth we've had with with staff, we would request to keep the western access point as part of what we are presenting to TDOT.
That doesn't mean TDOT will approve it, correct?
Doesn't mean we can bank on it.
But again, subject to TDOT approval with that kind of access.
You're agreeable to the decel lanes?
Yeah, that's part of the traffic study.
Okay. Further questions, comments from the commission? Thank you. This time we'll call for citizen comments. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'd like to open the floor for a recommendation to the BOC in regards to this item on our agenda. I'm going to make a positive recommendation or make a motion for a positive recommendation, changing the submittal from a CG PUD to a CRC PUD and granting a variance to 8 pumps instead of 4, granting a variance on the ISR from 70% to 80%, and if applicable, use permeable pavers in for lot 4, and that would be an additional variance. As well, closing no access point from this development to Old North Green Hill Road. To get it in, the access points as proposed to Lebanon Road to be right in, right out only, and subject to TDOT review and approval. Since they're not on my plan, I'm going to include it in the comment, is the addition of decel or westbound decel lanes into the site at the access point or points to Lebanon Road. The addition of a southerly crosswalk section at the access point on North Green Hill Road. The addition of a push button crosswalk and lighting at the northbound or the northern section of the North Green Hill access point, with the closing or potential closing of the South Mount Juliet Road to be drawn, because you're going to need it, a additional dumpster pad if it is so deemed, a straightening of the eastern access point of Lebanon Road, so that becomes a through access. I'm not sure our terminology for that. And I'm going to provide my plan to staff, at which additional striping, directional and crosswalk be added to the site as written on my plan. And
We need a speed calming. Let's straighten that road out. So short.
yeah, we do have 2 sidewalks lining up, so I'm going to add one more crosswalk down there at that access point. And I think that captures, and subject to staff comments. Maybe throw that in there too. Shane's request that the Public Works comments be addressed prior to second reading at the BOC. Please.
If I may, since the traffic study has not yet been completed, and between the first one and this plan, the land use has changed, which, as you know, drives the traffic study.
Mhm.
The land uses have again changed, potential land uses have again changed. some of our recommendations were to try to, I believe it was Mr. Rass made a comment, 10 pounds and 5 pounds, was to mitigate that. We still don't know what access does or does not need to happen into and out of this site. So we can take all those comments and pass them along to Mr. Haddix and his traffic engineer. But the traffic study may dictate or may indicate that more needs to be done on this site. So I just want to put that out there that
Sure.
one of the major, other than congestion, one of the concerns we'd had was left turns onto and off of a 5-lane urban roadway. Those are problematic at best. They also tend to be your most severe type of collisions. So we have been trying with several developments to reduce the likelihood of that. That's also a focus of TDOT right now, to limit that opportunity, also limit people's opportunity to make poor decisions. So, and yes, you've already hit on the fact that given the land uses and as the land uses have changed, particularly if you're taking out car wash and oil change and putting in a more retail, you're attracting more pedestrians. You have a captive audience of pedestrians over here. That is one thing that the new traffic study should address, is more of what we've talked with them about, more of a multimodal traffic study. So just want to put that out there, that that's everything you've asked for is what resulted in this. So it may come back that, you need more access points or different access points in different locations. And I've heard everything that the commission has said about Old North Green Hill. I really don't want to be around the public meeting being blamed as the guy who came up with that driveway. But there may be a discussion that has to happen of it's too much and what do we do about that? So just to prepare you, as we look at these things holistically and looking at larger areas, the commission needs to understand that, density is good, but density promotes trips, trips promote traffic, which promotes congestion. That's just the nature of my business. So what is currently shown most likely would not fit with TDOT's upcoming access management manual, which is posted online. Look for TDOT HSAM, you'll find it. It's just not adopted for non-TDOT projects at this point. But what is shown does not match with the HSAM. So
And the traffic study would reveal that?
yes. Well, the traffic study may not reveal the deficiencies, but our conversation with the applicant, they're in the traffic engineer, and then also Region 3 TDOT will illuminate that greatly. That I believe you have to have 800 foot spacing from a signalized intersection to the next access point, which is about from North Green Hill to Old North Green Hill, give or take. Just to put that out there. So depending on how this goes, all this could change, which is why we're trying to get these things wrapped up
Makes sense.
as soon as possible.
And honestly, I do have to agree with Jonathan. In their defense, they don't have a traffic study yet. And
Yeah.
so you guys are taking, accesses off of here blind. I mean, honestly, we just don't know what's going to be requested. So I'd love to leave that open-ended.
Everything we've recommended has been in the absence of quantitative data.
Yeah.
It has been just based on site visits, general understanding, and a little bit of engineering judgment.
I got a suggestion. I mean, we can defer it until the traffic study's completed. That's one, or we can push it forward, and at the BOC, we can refer it back to the planning commission before second reading.
That'd be,
How you want to handle that side of it,
It just sounds like to
Yeah.
me that we're looking at a plan that when this traffic study comes out is not even going to match what we're looking at.
I hate that.
So what we give a recommendation on tonight really is going to mean nothing because it's going to change when that traffic study comes out. So I think I agree with Commissioner Hefter. We
I
need to
agree.
either defer or do something. I don't feel comfortable approving this.
What would be the appropriate wording? To
That
add
you're making a positive recommendation to all the comments, but you're adding a condition that between first and second reading that it comes back to the planning commission.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's probably going to work out on timing anyways, because they have to skip
Okay.
a meeting. And that way y'all will be able to see
If it's,
what is actually going to be required out of that traffic study.
because if it was approved, it would be a major amendment, in which a major amendment has to come back here anyway.
Well, I don't know that it would trigger in our ordinance a major amendment,
Really?
which happens a lot of times when plans aren't necessarily ready for you guys to see. But we are, as staff, pushed to move these along. You don't always get to see what ends up, and the Whataburger is a prime example of that. And we all know how that's turned out.
Yeah.
So that'll just give you an opportunity to
I'd like
put
that.
your eyes on it again.
I'd like
And
that.
I don't think it would hold them up at all.
I'd like that.
Just send it back.
Yeah, I forgot traffic study wasn't done, but I mean, the CRC, the variance on the pumps, things like that, but talking about access and turn lanes, we gotta wait for traffic study, but
It's
other
important
than
to have.
anything traffic related, I mean, the use, the amendment on the pumps, I'm totally fine with that, but anything that comes to traffic study, we don't have one. I don't see us taking entrances and exits out without a traffic study.
So can we just add that after the first reading at the BOC, it must come back to planning prior to second reading?
I'd like to add that as addition to my,
Can do that.
And then present the results of the traffic
Yeah.
study.
That'd be a recommendation, but
I like
remind
it.
me. Remind me,
Yeah.
You good with
Ms.
that?
Hamblin.
I'd like to add that,
I will. We got it.
I'd like to add that as a condition to my positive recommendation.
There you go. Second.
Did we all catch that?
Thank you.
Did you get
I
my
thought-
second?
I did, yes, sir. So we got a motion and a second for a positive recommendation with everything that we just said. Please.
I apologize. I was trying to write down as you were going through your conditions, but did I miss about the building orientation for the C-store? Because that about
I'm
the
fine with as it's submitted here today.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just because staff comments are telling us to. I think it's planning comment 3 is telling
He
us
wants them
to rotate. I would just like to
versus
I-
behind.
make that part of the record. As it moves
Our
forward
staff
to be-
comment 3 is staff support CRC. You're talking about staff comment 4.
Sorry.
So you want to remove staff comment 4.
Please. Well, and then there's those for the median and whatnot, but that's all traffic study related. So, I mean, you can't really remove those off of here because, as you guys said, that those are going to change and move anyway.
And when this is done, Ms. Johnson is going to make a copy of your plans for Mr. Haddix, if you're okay with that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? Positive recommendation.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, next item up on our agenda falls underneath preliminary plats. Item 9A, review the preliminary plat for Heron Hill located off Saundersville Road. That'd be January. Pretty sure.
Is it not in here?
Yeah. You need it. Do you want my life, man?
I don't have anybody to print it either.
You didn't?
Ms. Hamilton?
Man, this one just barely missed consent agenda contender. Except they're asking for a variance to the cul-de-sac length, and I just did not feel comfortable throwing that on the consent agenda. So you guys may have remembered seeing this a while back with a different configuration, and honestly, what they've resubmitted this time around is way better. If you guys remember, we had a lot of citizen comments from that Queens Drive there about the cut-through access that they have with this rendition eliminated.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
The only caveat is now that they are asking for, as a result of that, a cul-de-sac length variance. So staff, obviously, we
January.
support this plan. We support the variance, and we're ready to move forward with it, with our comments. Did you hear, do you want me to repeat that?
No, I'm good. I got
Okay,
it.
good.
Shane, anything from Public Works on this
I
one?
want to talk about the cul-de-sac length. Yeah, it does not meet variance, or it does not meet code, but staff does support variance after working with Mr. Dean. They're going to provide us a wider cross-section of the roadway that they did not have to do. They're going to go from an access lane to an access street, 24 feet wide roadway. So we've done that before on a couple other developments. And outside of that, we're going to work with the applicant on their stormwater. We feel as though we can get to a resolution on that. They had promoted a practice that I and our stormwater team was not supportive with for injection wells, but I think we can get to a solution on that. But other than that, we support the variance for the cul-de-sac length code, and we recommend it for approval with our comments.
Very well. Questions or comments from the commission? Of course, I have a few. I'd like to add a condition for street lighting to be done at the entrance to Sonersville Road. Question back for representation, so name and address for the record.
Charlie Dean, Dean Design Group, 1633 West Main Street, Suite 1002 in Lebanon.
Perfect. Where's your mailbox kiosk?
That's missing at the moment.
All right.
We will add that.
So we need to make sure that that does not queue parking onto the road,
Onto
onto this drive lane or whatever. I don't want to see people parking in the street to go to a mailbox kiosk.
Okay.
Nor a mail truck or whatnot, just sitting there on the street. Needs to have some kind of a bump out, whether or not you use your open space or something for that up there at the entrance.
Sure.
Happy to let you work with staff to create that, but obviously you need a mailbox kiosk.
Of course.
Street lighting up there at the street. This is a point of confusion that I've seen at some places, so I want to make sure that as the development nears its completion, that there's signage at that access easement that allows the other neighbors to walk down to the lake. If there's no signage there, people think that is their yard and you can't walk through it, and you can. So that open space easement that allows them to get to the lake, I'd like to see signage right there so that buyer beware, that they're aware that you're walking through that area and people can. That they're not going to try to fence it, gate it, or close it off right there. Mr. Dean, do you have any street lighting in this neighborhood at all?
We
Because I'm hoping you're not going to mass clear all the trees.
are not going to mass clear all the trees.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that's one of the comments from staff is that they want us to keep as much as we can.
Be awesome.
Obviously, we're going to have to do some grading for the roadway and,
Yeah.
and the homes and that sort of thing, but it's a very wooded site and we're going to try to keep as much as we can.
I would love to see some, maybe 3 decorative street lights placed throughout that. I mean, it's pretty dark back in there, and
Sure.
just for safety, this will probably be a higher end-esque neighborhood. And I think that that's welcome in neighborhoods such as that for safety.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily close to any of our police facilities at the current moment. And then one more comment back, or question back for staff. I remember when we initially looked at this,
It's been a while.
it's going to give me a moment because it's going to bring up just some personal. My daddy lived right there. So give me a second. There was a gentleman that spoke on this project initially in regards to some cemetery or some burial sites. Have we ever identified that? He thought there was. I've never seen it. I didn't see it show up initially.
I've never seen it on any of the plans either, any rendition.
You
of
remember
this.
that when he
Yeah,
came up
yes, I
here
do remember, and I
talking
remember
about
you
that?
needed it a second then, too.
Yeah.
I was not the original representation. of
Yeah.
the Project, so I don't remember that comment.
Somebody spoke that there's an old cemetery on this property.
Did they indicate where?
Not that I
No,
mean,
you know, out
heck,
there. a
we'd
lot
have to archive
Yeah.
that meeting to see who even spoke on. I know he
He didn't
lives
know
on
where.
Saundersville. No,
He didn't know where.
he had heard.
When
Yeah.
I used to, yeah, that's what I say. A lot of people like walk out here on any vacant piece along Saundersville Road. I think everybody's like traversing through.
Yeah.
But a lot of history there in this area. And so a lot of longtime residents. So they're pretty in tune to, the area. So just beware of that. Obviously, you'll search that out. Have you haven't been on site yet?
Yeah, I've been out there. Yeah.
Should have
What
been
about your owner?
uncovered.
Has he walked the site?
Pardon?
Your owner walked the site?
Yeah, Chip's walked it a lot. Yeah.
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, if in the course of development, if you uncover that, you automatically have to issue a stop work.
Mhm.
Should that be
And they have to
identified
get
during that?
archaeologists
And then
to
how
do
it's
it.
going to be handled if you encounter any kind of grave sites or so. Just kind of a note for you guys that there is the potential that is there somewhere. We don't
Yeah.
know.
And we can look into it. I don't know.
My father lived next door to this for almost 30 years.
Hmm.
So he was right there on Queens and whatnot. When we initially looked at this, I think it showed a proposal to connect to Queens as well. I kind of like this. People at Queens weren't excited about it joining, so no issues from my standpoint on that.
Right.
And that tree, they're going to keep that tree. The Queen's tree.
Oh, we're at the end of it.
Yeah.
That was the biggest point of contention, remember? So
Yeah.
I was glad to see that they cut that, which is another reason why, of course, we're supporting the variance is because it was just such a point of contention about that access to Queens, that connection there, and that huge tree. So at least we'll get to keep that as part of this plan.
Something we've started doing this year, and I want to add on this because the comments are in the plan. In an effort for better coordination with planning and engineering, all landscaping comments will have to be addressed in a lot of trees. So what basically is going to happen, they're going to hand me an approved landscaping plan and make sure that that is intact with their site. And that is part of and that's what going forth to make sure that all landscaping is preserved per your comments, per planning's comments, and make sure the site is
Because didn't we look at giving you a density bonus or something for tree preservation?
I
don't think
cannot
it
get
ever-
that tree preservation ordinance off the ground. I've brought it
never
back
came to
since like
fruition, did it?
2015. I've been
Yeah.
trying to get tree
I know.
preservation. No, I can't get support on it. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
so there
no.
was a potential density bonus. In this case, I'd foresee it as a variance bonus, if
yeah,
for that, because I'm normally
There are
not too
huge
excited
trees
about
over there,
that.
so we always make the comment, but I can't get a formal tree preservation plan passed through the BOC.
I guess the only other comment that I'd like to see added, Charlie, and this is simple and minor, is you do have the blind hill when you're coming that way right before this entrance comes up. Just a sign that says out there on Saundersville Road that says turn ahead, or school bus, because school bus is not going down this street. So school bus is going to be stopped in that street at this
we're
point.
covering that with our comment number
You
one
did?
about a site analysis,
Right.
site distance analysis to
Perfect.
be taking
Yeah,
place.
just some signage out there, let people know. all I
Beautiful
have.
neighborhood. I can't wait to see it when it's finished.
Yeah,
It's gonna
yeah.
be nice to live out there.
So, questions or comments from the commission? Please.
Do you guys already have a builder? Are these going to be custom homes or a national builder? How is that going to work?
The owner, Chip Reichert, is with Bluegrass Building Group. So he's a contractor and developer, and I think you intend to live out here as well, right? So that'll be a bonus to secure the quality of the neighborhood. You guys gonna live out here?
That's correct.
And I believe he's going to have a lake lot.
I would assume
I'd
that
hope
he
so.
would take.
You think he's gonna come
when
in
you
on
get to
lot
choose from
one?
all of them, I guess that they're
Not going on lot one. All right, thank you. This time, let's call for citizen comments. Any citizen wish to make comment, welcome, encouraged to do so. Microphone, name and address. Seeing no citizens for citizen comments this time,
We ran them all off.
I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. With my additional comments added to staff comments, please. And that's a motion and a milk, yeah, you gotta do that. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor, excuse me, signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye. Against, abstentions, so approved. I am looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion? Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye. Against, abstentions. We are adjourned.